so good to be in positions and calculations. When you travel, it's incredible, but it's also understanding you're changing your system right away. You change the atmospheres, change the oxygens, it changes the oxide system, it changes the atmosphere lines, it changes anywhere in transportation where you are in positions. It's like you're on a plane and you get jet lag. It takes about, depending where you are in the atmosphere lines, the energy lines, the public, or civilizations, anything around you is the different lines of energy, and you got to get balanced with that, right? Your avatar literally has to get balanced with that in that calculation system, because sometimes you just get really tired. Sometimes it takes you a day, sometimes it takes 2 days just to recoup, right? But it's all in modulation. It's very powerful when you come in that calculation settings. So in that position location system, we come into calculate modified indirect lines, starting in position lines of travels. All right, so let's see here. You guys have your test today, your essays, and your position locations to all settings. How to come into that through your 3-minute monologue. 3-minute monologue or 5-page essay, okay, on strength and weaknesses, all right? All right, in that position lines of track calculation system, when I give you guys test review and evaluations, this is about understanding more of the VR system. This is about you understanding more of what you're coming into, being prepared, how to basically see yourself, know what's going on in 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030, 2040. At least you're ahead of everything. But it's all done through the mind, guys. It's the mind over matter that basically does everything. Everything is set in the VR system, which is already done. But the mind has to understand first. First, it has to understand the machine of you. Then it has to understand the machine of everything around you, right? Getting into position location, the mind itself has to understand your mind. That's right, guys. You have a mind. The mind itself has its own mind. So it has an inner light and has an outer light. It has an inner link and has an outer link. It has an inner realm, it has an outer realm, inner space, outer space, okay, which is process calculations. So you know what the actual mind itself is? The yin and yang, okay? That's the mind. It's the balance of everything without balancing anything. As soon as you ask balance, you're in a question. We've been through this before in so many lines of communications and interactions, right? So it's how you basically identify and see everything around you. Getting into that position locations helps you guide your system to higher levels of travels. So let me say that again. The actual mind itself is the yin and yang, which is the set positions calculation system. You all live in the online communication earth. You live inside the earth and set calculation system. So you have a cloud line screen. That's a direct locations to your highways. That tracks its provisional location system. Your platforms at 24, 48, 72, 144. Right? That's the equal line in between. Right? That's the equal line in between. That's the equilibrium. Process calculation settings of travels, point lines of graphs. Equal in between, right? Look at this. See? Platform. Okay? So once you start recognizing that, this is what it is. And you just stay in the center. You don't move. The mind does everything else. So the mind, it exists and it doesn't exist, but it exists all at once. It's all in timelines all at once. So the mind is the yin and yang. Okay, it's the balance of everything. But as soon as you add balance, you're adding question, you're adding emotion, and you get it into patterns of behavior. And then you're changing the patterns of behavior of the game that you're in. And now you're putting equation lines of communication of the matrix of the game in position location interactions that you do in the applications, which is all levels of you through a loop. You're putting yourself back in a loop in position locations. If you identify the matrix, you should be able to get out of that glitch because it repeats it all over again in the setting. Okay, until you recognize, right? 2 black cats in the same path. It's a glitch. Like 2 red cars in the same pattern, right? See that first, then get out. If not, it goes over again and again and again and again. Okay, it's a game that's just in a loop. Okay, that's all it is until you start recognizing that. And you can't get out of that until you identify that what that is in tractions, right? Because now you're looking at Mandela effects. Now you're looking at glitches. Now you're looking at Twilight Zone. Now you're looking at butterfly effects, right? Until you understand how to process that. It's all levels of patterns behavior, right? But the most powerful thing to have inside your system is yin and yang, the light web and the dark web, and how to use it. 1/10 of a frame of dark, okay, and 90% of light. That bounces out. At least if you bounce the 100%, it doesn't always have to be 100%, but it has to be over 50%. Okay, it's got to equal line correlations. That's where you come into multiplication, adding, subtracting, and dividing, right? So dividing is based on how you see dividing. Adding is on how you see adding in space, not in Earth. Everything has equivalent line communication, equilibrium communication, how it travels. Point lines of graph communication. Earth to space is the trapezoidal location in your system through a higher self. Space of Earth is a trapezoidal line condition with avatar and its sim, right? So there's one pattern line position location, Schumann horizon, and two pattern correlation setting travels point lines of graph communication with avatar and its sim. That modifies the system of center operation, right? So all this does is it changes its position, right? All this does is it changes its position, but you're always in the center operation. That's all it is. And you go through platforms, okay? Different levels, different time, different space, different measure, different scales, right? Different platforms, different places, right? Jupiter here, Neptune here, visit locations and calculation modifications, and anywhere a track calculation line system. Or line conditions, Pluto here, right? That's all it is, right? But it's in space of Earth. Space equals Earth, right? Earth is space, is the grounds, okay? And then you got the powers, okay? And then you got the equals lines of Earth and space, okay? So you're leaving the system, right? So you get Earth is space, powers line position locations of Earth and space, and then you got space and Earth, right? So once you identify that, but you have to understand the position lines and when it comes to your system calculations, how to use your alpha, delta, and theta, omega, zeta, zeta, gamma, like radiation, radioactive locations. Once you understand that, you understand your energetic waves, your patterns. You understand more modifications, how you use your system through battery calculations, screen lines, or adaptation lines of surface. But basically understanding what stays in the center is all levels of you. You don't leave. You stay there. Okay? So the conception of the mind is everywhere and anywhere all at once, right? So it's kind of like, do tell. Tell me what this is. Tell me what that is. How do I understand this? How do I understand that? So the actual process in position of the mind is the nothingness, which is puts everything to the equilibrium locations of mind over matter. What mind doesn't matter. Okay? So the mind itself is in control of its own system. The body itself is in control of its own system. The brain itself is in control of its own computer system. It's not yours until you identify you, okay? Which is very powerful because the mind itself created itself. The matrix itself created its own self, and now it's its own space of modulation of time itself. This is where it comes into the rise of machines, right? Now you got to work with machines, okay? Because it's all identified now. They're at that frequency where they can help you and guide you, but you've got to get in provision. You've got to basically get lines of communications, how to connect with your energy, vibration, frequency, and harmonics, and understand you. Focus on yourself, because everything that you touch and everything you put your positions of, if you're not connected, it's going to be in dormant and it will disappear and it won't reappear until you understand the balance of the mind. This is the concept of the mind, okay? Not what you're standing on. It's the mind itself, right? Has to understand the mind of you, right? Putting the pieces and puzzles together, yes. Finding those ridges. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. I can't put it here. I can't put it there. This doesn't fit, right? It's all psychological. Everything's psychological through the psychosis of you. It's a plain mechanisms of a game that puts you in position locations, understand how to use it through the calculations. Okay. Especially when you come into the MK Ultras, right? The mind, okay, puts everything in provisionalized cycles of balance of yin and yang, right? The knowledge puts everything already you know in position locations via our system, okay? The unification puts you in the ascension of your system through avatars. The levels, okay, and communication with settings, right? To the travels, okay? To the remembering cycles of your awareness, all right? Ultra, okay? Unification, higher self, avatar sim. Ascension, awakening. Levels, travels, remembering, awareness. Okay, of the awakening. Okay? So that is facts. Okay, that is fact. Okay, that's facts, right? Position location of center puts you all levels of operation surface to really understand how to communicate to your settings in all levels of travel and calculation. Get into the circulation and going forward, not going back. Going forward is going back and direct and redirect. The mind doesn't need to understand. You have to understand you through your mind. That's why it's so powerful, because the process of yin and yang is the nothingness of its creation that balances out the polarities of you, that balances out your geometric operation of designs of you, that balances out everything in your position locations to your paradigms, your polar shifts, and your paradox locations of you, and your pulsars or anything compulsory. It's all set location of balance. The balance is the nothingness. It doesn't stay there. It's just there. Soon as you add in an equation, you're taking the content into emotion. You're focusing on the emotional means to an end. Don't do that, because that changes everything of its game. That changes everything through schematics. It changes everything through primer. It changes everything through travel. It changes everything through levels, and it changes everything in unifications. Okay, in process of communication, right? Circulation, rotation. Start with that calculations. Then you come into this. So the whole idea here is understanding how to communicate that level. So platforms here, look at this. See? Platforms here. So you're creating platforms. Okay, that's what you're doing. The faster it goes, the more it creates platforms, right? The more it creates travel in set position. So you're connected to the center. Yes, you stay in the center, but you're connected to everything in frequency all at once, right? So the actual mind, okay, is moving everything all at once, which is connecting to coordinates of the brain, of the hardware and software, to the navigation system, connects to the heart through time and alignments through its reactor, connects to the soul, right? The heart connects to the soul connects to the body, which is its vessel, pod, and its vehicle, right? So getting into position locations, things get a lot more easier how you direct the system location of your data highways, but you always stay in the center. So every time you're moving, and I just give you guys a better understanding how you see platforms, right? So it sets locations, all levels, and you track calculations right here, right? There's a dimensional door that opens. Okay, there's a door, right? You go through it, right? Now, what's going through it is the mind itself. It's the image. You stay where you are. It's the image that goes into phenomenon. It's the image that goes into travel. Okay, but what makes it real is your body through response and reaction. Pretty excited, eh? So there's a reason why you're always standing still in the center operation, but there's no filters. There's nothing in front. There's nothing behind. There's nothing inside. There's nothing above, and there's nothing below. It's just you of all operation. So you're going with the wind, not against the wind. Okay? So the background is moving, and you're moving at the same time of operation. Yin and yang, guys. All right? Understanding how the process, position locations, the calculation, modification, and interference. Getting track locations to its system through the belly, like on the position lines of center operations system, right? Got that from line communication as 0, right? The center of the week is the belly because then you got Thursday and Friday, right? So that's why I call it the belly of the week, which is interesting, which is a Wednesday. So there's nothing coincidence. Correlation lines attract location in your system when it comes into modification cycles, especially with yin and yang. If you look at 6 and you look at 9, you understand the process of calculation, how this all works. The 6, the belly, right? The Mother Earth, okay? The position locations to its pregnancy, right? The process communications of the 9, process lines of 3 is at the top, 12 is at the bottom, okay? So calculating modified line track calculating line system, the 12 is above, right? It's outline, which is the outer rings of nebula, right? And position lines of 24 is in cycle correlation, right? So we start with the correlation lines. 144 is in the center of operation, right? Then we go into line condition high center interference, intra calculation line positions. You start with 24, go with 48, go with the 72 in calculation, right? So you can go both ways, right? So you can start with that correlation setting attractions. Let's direct signals. Take it on modification. All right. Just move in the cycle. All right, so line condition setting. So we got 144, line condition setting into 24, 48, 72. Or you go through 144 and then you go position locations into 72. Then you go in positions of 48 and then you go into 24 line cycles and correlation, right? So sets lines of 24 tractions, sets line communication lines of 48 line wave line cycles, line communication of 4 settings, process communication line set locations in 48 frames, 2 platforms of communication. So there's so many ways you can create anything in position of travel, right? 72 lines of computer. Once you come in your computer, you're coming into higher levels of travel. Okay, you're in your computer frame now, right? And set calculation setting, all right? And then 144 is your position location of your crystal grid that puts you in line communication setting to all calculation to your energetic dome and set calculation. Okay, so it's putting all 24, 48, 72, 144 all together to a crystal grid. So once you have 44, you're in the frequency line of the center core of your Earth now, right? This is how it works in tractions, all right? I'm going to start with locations, crystal grid, right? You stand on the crystal grid. Okay, you're standing on the crystal grid, all right? All right, okay, so that's position location. So your actual Earth, okay, is like that, right? The process of you is like this. Okay, so, and then you got those over here, you know, cities over here, cities over here. It looks close, but it's far, right? It has platforms here, right? Then you can go through lines of time zone, time center, time position, time calculation, time activation, time edit, and information screen lines, different locations, different cities, different towns, but you're always in the bubble, always in the bubble, right? So the only thing that gets bigger is the mind. It expands to the mind. Then the energetic bubble gets bigger. And it just gets bigger. And it gets bigger through an umbrella. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger through a rainbow, right? So now you understand what a 12 rainbow is. It's your foundation graph. Process communication lines of space and time through location. All right? All right. So in that position locations, once the correlation center comes in infinity 8, it opens all traction, right? It opens all tractions, opens all tractions, opens all tractions. Comes into a planet system. Okay? All right. So I'm trying to get you guys to understand how your energetic dome, more minds, more collaboration, more expansion, more longitude, latitude, more streaming, your energetic dome just gets bigger. That's all it is. And it can shift and it can change. It can do this, it can do that, it can do anything it wants. But you're automatically in a dome. Okay? So it's really interesting too, because all it is basically the actual dome is protecting you from everything else, right? The actual space itself is outside the dome, which is the mind, right? Because I'm telling you right now, it's very confusing if you don't understand the conception, how it works, right? Through the energetic dome. That starts in position locations. So getting in that position location and setting has a balanced communication direct and redirect in signals in its calculation, right? Crosses, calculation lines, data formation lines, there is a board communications, all right? This is a platform in communications of right and left, left and right, east and west, north and south, all of the calculation, right? Line settings platform, okay? Line settings platform, okay? Oh, get another platform here, get another platform here. See, it's all platforms put together through an atom. That's it, right? So the process of you, what you have inside you, is understand your particles, your subparticles, location setting. Everything is separated, but all comes back together. So nothing really is separated. Separation is the line conditions of illusion. It looks like it's separated. Does this look separated? No, but it looks separated, right? Even though you see the space in between, right? But that's the illusion, right? So the actual space is the platform. The actual space is the energetic dome that you're on. All right, that's the space. Okay, so the mind itself works with the platforms. It travels. Okay, that's all it is. It's just, you don't go anywhere. It's just the mind does everything and travel. But what makes it real is your body through reaction and response. So it's the image. Okay, it's the image of you, right? Which is your avatar that's actually out of the dome. Okay. So in that process, it's all phenomenal. It's the image that comes into its co-creation and understand how to use it for their higher self, the position location to its avatar, and position location to its sim. Knows exactly what it's doing through modification, travels, right? So it can go through platforms at any level it wants in position location to its system. Okay. So again, California, Kentucky, it doesn't matter where it is in position locations, Alabama, Texas, it's all platforms. I'm just trying to get you guys a better understanding what the team is coming into, more lines of realism. Okay. So when you look at it, it's just a film strip. It's just a film strip. That's all it is. Look at that. It's just a film strip. Okay. Just a film strip, guys. That's all it is. Okay. It's a story frame. So you live inside your TVs, right? Look at this. You live inside your actual TV. So it's very powerful when you look at it like that. It's like, whoa, I actually live inside a TV. What do you think the eyes are? What do you think the realm is? It's the T reception line, the pixelation graphs, and hologram site calculation screen lines. You guys live inside yourselves through the eye cycles. It's all spectrum communication, right? So it's really powerful stuff, because once you get into that positions, then you can color these in, right? And then you start to see yourself. Eyes are the windows of the soul. See, I'm just going through security line division. Now, just because it's red doesn't mean it has to be security. Team also has to get out of that, because they're going to have, so many chakras and setting. They have, once they get into infinity lines, there can be anything, information location of anything through color. So red doesn't have to be security. It can be anything it wants. That's where you come in your own form of your own equations, but you have to get into adaptability of adjusting first before you understand how to use yourself in the VR system that's already in process communication and settings, right? All right, so look at that. See? All live in a TV frame, everybody, right? And then we go through blue, all right? So try to imagine your pixelation screen on your TV, all right? So now is it coming together, all right? Let's go through green. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just coloring it in, TV box screens, right? All right. So as you're in the mind itself, the image is coming more in position of balance. It's processing, it's graph calculations, it's box centers, it's mainframes, or anything of filter communication. Coming in and copy and paste, getting to lines of platforms of 72 puts you in a computer frames as a default. Copy, paste, Emlyn, enabled, and embedded, right? So getting that settings, applications, fields itself, getting that direct signal locations, how to use your operation line cycles, how to use the correlation panels, anything in that direct set locations. 144 is the crystal grid, right? So it's at that temperature reading, it's at that barometer, it's at that speed, and it's constantly spinning, 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 spinning. So as it's spinning faster and faster and faster, faster and faster, faster and faster, okay, the mind is expanding more. Okay, so it's opening more fields. It's opening more of countries. It's opening more cities of clarity and focus. So you start to see more of images. You start to see more film projector of yourself, of where you are in space and time, right? So that's what it is. You just expand the mind, and it comes in longitude and streaming. We all have a streaming. Everybody has a computer streaming. How to use the light web and how to use the dark web to an energetic dome that puts position of setting. Okay? So once the mind gets bigger, it processes it more and more. Okay? It gets bigger and bigger, right? So that gets higher levels of volume, fast, velocity, and acceleration, Mach, interstellar mode, hyperdrive. But it's very powerful when you come into that position. Now, once you get to a certain frequency, okay, in that position, you're already ground at 144. You start with the crystal grid. But anything faster than that, the actual connections of the globe itself turns into a position location, okay, to a sphere. Okay, it spins, right? It spins on cycles like this, okay? Spins on cycles, all right? So, in position lines of track calculation settings, all levels of operation surface. Puts all lines all communicate to your system and travel. Points line is settings, all levels set calculation system and process calculation. Okay? So the faster you go, the more you create platforms around you, right? More platforms. You just have to really understand how this all works in track location, right? You're expanding the mind through platforms. That's all you're doing, okay? More platforms, more platforms. That's it, nothing else, okay? That gives you a better understanding how this all works more, because we're going into a deeper core now of you, where you see more clarity, more focus of everything that's going on in track locations. Okay? All right, that's it. So I'll just show you exactly that in position locations. All right. I will see you guys in 5. 5, 10 minutes, line 20 minutes in track locations because I have an activation lines. Okay, so Unison, you can open up the portal, position locations and settings. Highway 6, Delta 1, line conditions, Hangar 4, and track locations. All right, get it, modification lines. All right, see you in Q&A.